Okay, good morning, everyone. Can you hear me okay? Yeah? Okay. Thank you very much for inviting me to Oslo. I've always wanted to visit Norway, but even if it's for a software conference, it's a good start. But I will be back and spend weeks here. It's a fantastic place. So my name is Julian. I'm an evangelist at Amazon Web Services. And today, I'm going to talk about how you can move fast, build things with AWS Services, and show you what some of our customers are doing. And obviously, it's the morning, and if I was not visiting you guys, I would probably be home and have a nice breakfast, cup of coffee, croissant, you know. But actually, this morning, I'm going to talk about beer for a little while. And, you know, being French, probably I should talk about wine. But I realized, you know, come on, Norway, you know, Vikings and so on. So I need to talk about beer. So why am I talking about beer this morning? Well, a while ago, I visited this very nice beer museum. And look at this place. It's really charming. It's full of beautiful tools, you know, made in copper, made in wood. And you can imagine how much passion, how much time was spent building those tools. And of course, how much craftsmanship goes into making beer, right? All the tiny details you have to worry about, all the time you need to spend to get the best result. And looking at this, you know, made me think, wow, it's an art, you know? You would think it's a pretty simple thing, but no. It's an art, it's a complicated thing. It has a lot of different processes, a lot of different tools. And, you know, I think that's very impressive, especially, you know, centuries ago, that people could actually reach this level of craftsmanship. And then during the visit, I saw this thing, you know, and we'll all agree it's not very good looking. And I asked the tour guide, and I said, what is this ugly thing, you know, compared to the beautiful copper pieces and so on? And he said, oh, that's an electrical generator. Because obviously, to make beer, you know, you need to have electricity. And so that made me think, okay, so those guys, those passionate beer craftsmen, craftwomen probably, had to worry about this as well, you know? They had to run and maintain and potentially fix this electrical generator. And I wondered, okay, what part of that job did they like best? Did they actually enjoy tuning the beer machine? Tasting it, probably, saying, no, that's not quite right, let's try it again, and getting to the best results? Or did they enjoy messing with that thing and getting their hands dirty with, you know, oil and dirt and so on? Well, of course, I imagine they like the first part better, you know, doing their actual job, running their business, making the best beer. And when it comes to physical infrastructure, isn't that the same story? You know, you want to build the best website. You want to build the fanciest B2B application. You want to build a complex financial services app for your customers, etc., etc. And that's your goal, that's your job. You know, that's what you're paid for. That's the value you're creating, and most important, that's what you love, right? But unfortunately, most of the time, you have to start with this. You have to buy a ton, literally a ton, of physical infrastructure. And these are from my personal collections, actually. These are not from Wikipedia or anything. These are from a previous company. And you have to buy hundreds of servers, and you have to open all those boxes, and you have to get them installed in racks. And when things go wrong, and that's one of my former network engineers, super bright guy, and he had to actually, you know, pull a screwdriver and fix something in the load balancers. What do you think he thought about his job that day, right? And that's how it goes. That's how it goes. And our customers are getting tired of that. Because what they want is this. They want computing resources as a utility, just like electricity, just like water. You switch it on, you use it, it works. When you don't need it anymore, you switch it off, right? When you turn on the light, you're not worrying about all the generators and all the distribution networks that actually bring electricity to your home or your business. You just switch it on, right? And there are a ton of complex processes happening. But you don't worry about that. You just want a utility service. And it's not only a startup thing. You could say, okay, fine. This is really a little radical for me, But look at this gentleman, the CIO from General Electric. It's a huge American company, obviously. I'm sure you've heard about them. They were founded in the 19th century. And that gentleman, Jim Fowler, came on stage at our event last October in the US. And look at what he said, right? Said, hey, my business is not running data centers. My business is, among other things, to build airplane engines. And my airplane engines are not going to be more popular, more successful, because I run data centers really well. And that's very typical of what people say in the industry, large companies and startups. They want to focus on their core business. And that's what we see every day. Cloud computing is becoming the new normal. People don't want to go and buy servers anymore and wait for weeks and months for those servers to be installed. They want to flick the switch and get the computing power. And they want to start building things immediately, within days, maybe within hours. And once you had a taste of it, you're not going back. So anything else that is still running on legacy infrastructure in their own data centers, they want to move it as fast as they can to the cloud. And today, AWS has over 1 million active customers all over the world. Large companies, small companies, government agencies, universities, lots of non-profit organizations. Very different organizations from all sizes, all countries, all businesses, and all of them are just moving to the cloud to get these extra benefits. But of course, I'm in Norway today, right? So it's important to talk about your local heroes. I could point to a few ones. Telenor. I'm sure everybody knows Telenor. It's a long-time AWS customer. They have a bunch of great presentations on the web. One from a few years ago is called AWS for Dinosaurs. You should look it up. It's extremely funny. And it gives you some insight on how a large, complex company and business like Telenor is actually leveraging AWS. I could mention Schibsted Media Group, who ran a very successful project some time ago. They migrated a single sign-on application used by 3.5 million readers in 4 hours. Actually, it was on two-hour slots at night, right? 2 evenings, 2 times 2 hours, 2 evenings, job done, not going back. I could mention Ticktail, which is a Swedish company, Swedish e-commerce company. And they run 100,000 stores online, 2 million products, and they've been running in AWS from day one. They never even bought a single server. Of course, I have to mention Supercell. Anyone playing Boom Beach or Clash of Clans? Come on, raise your hand. No? Your kids, maybe. Yeah, come on, you are playing Boom Beach. You don't want to admit it. So, fantastic gaming company from Finland. And these guys, they have to handle 45 billion real-time events every day. 45 billion events, and they do this using AWS services. notably Kinesis, which you may have heard about. And of course, Spotify. Who's listening to music on Spotify? Oh yeah, all right. Okay, you're big music fans. Okay, fantastic. Not so much gaming, but music. Okay, Spotify, again, long time AWS customer, and they add 20,000 new tracks every day. Imagine if you were an enterprise storage manager at a large company, and maybe some people are here. Do we have storage managers in the room? I'm sure, yes. and your boss told you, hey, we need to add 20,000 tracks every day. How would you do that every single day? Pretty tricky. And I could go on for hours. Household names, Nokia, Volvo, many more. So as you can see, startups are using AWS, large companies are using AWS, and even big complex companies like Telenor, telco, is actually using us too. And so you have to ask yourself why. Why are we seeing so many companies moving to the cloud so quickly? Well, there are a few reasons. And the main one, actually, is agility. It's the ability to build stuff, to start building stuff within hours. Move from ID to prototype to completed project as fast as you can, without worrying about buying servers, running servers, having budget for them, blah, blah, blah. Agility is the #1 thing our customers like. The second thing I already mentioned, it's really, do without any heavy lifting. And when you're racking servers, believe me, do we have some people in the room who have actually racked physical servers or storage? Yeah, all right, a few ones. Okay, you know what I mean. When I say heavy lifting, I mean heavy lifting. When you do that all day, you sleep pretty well at night. But most importantly, it's really, installing servers, patching the operating system, creating tickets for whatever, talking to your suppliers because your delivery got late, talking to your telco operator because your network is not functioning, etc. Again, I could go on for hours and list problems with physical infrastructure. So just ignore all of that, focus on your business. The third thing is you can go global in minutes, and that's not bragging. We have a technology called CloudFormation. You may have heard about that. It's infrastructure as code. You describe your infrastructure in a text file, literally, in a JSON file. And once you've done that, you can launch the building of your infrastructure in any AWS region. And within a few clicks, you can literally build a data center in AWS within minutes. Okay? So let's say your business is running great in Europe and you want to launch in the US. Well, within a day, within hours, your infrastructure can be ready in the US. Right? If you're trying to do this with physical infrastructure, and I did in a previous life, we're not talking hours, we're talking months. And that's a big difference when your customers are waiting for you. Or maybe they won't wait for you. Of course, another benefit is moving from capital expense from CapEx to OpEx. Right? Buying servers, buying routers, etc. requires a lot of money up front before you even start building your project. When you use AWS services, you pay as you go. So, no money up front. You just pay as you go, and you scale up or down as you need. And given the scale of AWS, with more than 1 million customers, you get a better price on your infrastructure that you could do on your own because of the volume of hardware and data center that we're building and buying. We get prices that you can never hope to get. So the scale factor is really important. And of course, you just stop guessing capacity. When you need to buy the hardware, how many servers do you need, how much storage do you need, how many database servers do you need, how much network bandwidth do you need, and you have to commit for 3 years, 5 years sometimes. And if you have too little, it's a problem. If you have too much, it's a waste of money. So stop guessing. one thing you notice when you talk to people who are using the cloud and AWS services, it's how passionate they are. It's not just another IT vendor. It's not just another way of building infrastructure. They really, they really love it. And why is that? Well, because, it gives them freedom, simple as that. And when you're a builder, when you want to build your business, when you want to build your company, when you want to build your technology stack, there are a lot of things that stand in your way if you're doing it the traditional way. And I'm sure, those quotes, everybody has heard them, and unfortunately is probably still hearing them in their companies. It's not just a technical thing, right? If you're a marketing person, if you're a salesperson, if you're an HR person, and you have an idea for a cool project, and of course, if you're a techie, if you have an idea for a cool project, and you want to get to, the other side of that project and bring it to production, every day you will hear about that. Oh, no, that's not possible. No, we don't have the budget. No, we don't have the capacity for it. And even if you have the budget, and even if you have the capacity, and even if you have the manpower, and even if you have no technical problems, you always get to, okay, please create a ticket. Open a port on the firewall, please create a ticket. Can you provision 10 gigabytes of storage? Please create a ticket. This is driving me mad and a lot of people mad. So people don't want to work that way anymore. We didn't go through computer science schools and business schools to hear this, right? We want to get from A to B in the fastest way possible, in the most efficient way possible. We want to have fun doing it, and we want to create value for our businesses. And so it's really about freedom. The whole story is really about freedom in your own job, and having control on your destiny. And we have 7 basic freedoms that I want to talk about. The first one is the freedom to build, unfettered, unrestrained. And what does that mean? It means having a lot of technology to choose from, a lot of AWS services to choose from. Pick what you like. It's ready for you. You don't have to waste any time. And be able to provision it very quickly. And if you add the two, you get true agility. And this is the map of AWS services, so don't worry, I'm not going to go through all of them. Over 50 different services for computing and storage and security and databases. So it's a wide platform. But it's not a shallow platform. Actually, it's a very deep platform. For instance, if we look on the computing side, we have 7, or is that 8? 6? 8. We have 8 different types of instances. Okay, so you can pick the instance that fits your workload the best. Do you need more storage? Do you need more computing power? Do you need a balanced mix? Right? We have 6 database engines in our service called RDS, which is a managed service for relational databases. So you can pick whatever engine you like best, whatever works best for you. It could be MySQL, could be Oracle, could be Postgres, could be more. For encryption, it's the same. We have very deep features. For access control, we have very deep features. I could take every single box on that previous slide and show you we have very deep features. Last year, we launched 722 new features. Right? I'm not saying we have a total of 722 features. I'm saying last year, we added 722 features. And actually, that's the 40% increase compared to last year. So we're innovating on behalf of our customers faster and faster. And so if you thought that, infrastructure as a service providers were all the same, and you could treat them as a commodity service, and that they're all exchangeable, well, I think that's a mistake, right? Because actually, you should look at the platforms in detail, and you will see that AWS has the longest experience, the largest number of customers, the widest and the deepest platform. So don't believe people who tell you, oh, you can take cloud provider A and replace it with cloud provider B, and it's going to be the same. And don't believe that you can do multi-cloud, because multi-cloud will only give you one thing. It will give you the lowest common denominator between the platforms, and you will not actually be using most of our advanced services. Freedom number 2 is extracting full value from your data, which is, the key part of many projects. So we have multiple services to process data. RDS that I mentioned, you could do Hadoop manage Hadoop on AWS. You could do streaming data, you could do machine learning, you could do data warehousing. We have the full spectrum. And actually, we have lots of very large customers who are doing a lot of data analysis on AWS. I could point to Bongo. Bongo, if you're traveling a lot, you'll surely use them. They're the world leader in airport hotspots. Okay, they have 1 million hotspots all across the world, and they have a lot of data. And they migrated from an SAP Oracle system to manage all that data to an AWS service called Redshift. Anybody has heard about Redshift? Yes? Yeah, a few people? Okay. It's our managed data warehouse. And by doing that, their queries are running 180 times faster. Okay? Imagine that. Their load time, the data load time, is 480 times faster. Right? They have a great use case on YouTube, a video from our conference. You can look them up, or feel free to ask me for more information. So, fantastic performance story for Bongo. NTT Docomo, the largest telco in Japan and one of the largest in the world, they run multi-petabytes data warehouses on Redshift again. So if your own story is about big data and analytics, you should definitely look at AWS. Another problem with big data and analytics is usually it's such a specialist thing, right? I mean, you have those data analysts or data scientists, and God bless them. But everyone else is in the dark. You have to go to those guys, to those teams, and say, hey, could you build me a report on this, or could you do that? And why? Why is that? Why are all the other guys not able to do their own analysis? Freedom, right? Should be possible. Well, unfortunately, in many companies, it's not possible because the tools are so complex, right? This is an actual tool. Maybe some of you are using it. I don't want to name it. You'll recognize who that is. And it's a very complex thing to do this. So even if you have an idea for a project, no way you can use that. Another problem is how expensive those tools are. Again, you may have seen this price list somewhere. I won't name it. It's so complex, right? How do you go and actually build a budget that you can bring to your CFO and say, okay, we need data tools and it's going to cost that much? And it is very expensive. So people will think twice about bringing those tools to literally everyone in the company, right? When you're talking that much money, it's like, okay, maybe we can have only 5 licenses for the data analysts and they will run the jobs for the rest of the company. And that's not freedom. And so, our customers got fed up with this, and they asked us to do something better. And so we built a new product that was announced last October called Amazon QuickSight. And what is Amazon QuickSight? Well, it's everything those other tools are not. It's simple. You can get up to speed in about a minute. You can start running real-time analysis on your data within minutes. We think it's better looking, but you tell me. And it's much, much cheaper than the alternatives, right? It's about 10 times cheaper than those other tools. And of course, it's well integrated with all the other AWS services. So, a lot of stuff is about data these days. So next freedom should be, how do you get your data into the cloud or out of the cloud? Well, of course, you can just copy it. I mean, you could just directly copy it. A lot of people do that using the public internet. You could have a dedicated link called Direct Connect, so dedicated link between your office or your data center into AWS. Better for security, better for performance, dedicated link. But that doesn't fit all use cases. Streaming data is something that's really important. I mean, we mentioned Supercell, all the mobile apps, all the gaming apps. It's really about streaming data, real-time processing, real-time transfers. And so you need a solution to do that. And AWS built a product called Kinesis, which I already mentioned, which is a great solution that our customers are using to stream data into the cloud. And again, another hot topic these days is connected devices, the Internet of Things, IoT, and that's again another story. It's streaming data, but maybe just a little data, but from millions of sensors, millions of devices. So we also have an IoT platform which supports that. But that's just part of the story. What about large volumes of data? IoT is one thing, gaming data is one thing, but for enterprises, I mean, I'm sure in the room we have people working in large banks, insurance companies, oil companies, industry companies, and so, you guys are not talking streams, you're talking terabytes, maybe petabytes. And, for a long time, the best solution to transfer your data was a delivery truck, and never underestimate the bandwidth of a delivery truck, right? Actually, PostNord is an AWS customer as well, right? So next time you get a parcel from one of those trucks, at some point, AWS helped bring it to you. So if it's late, it might not be your fault. Just kidding. So yeah, sometimes the best solution is just to ship a whole bunch of hard drives, right? If you need to transfer 100 terabytes to the cloud, and you can dedicate, let's say, 100 megabits per second to that, it's going to take 100 days. If you dedicate 1 gigabit to that, it's going to take 10 days. And who's going to dedicate a 1 gigabit link only to transfer data, right? It's got to be costly. You need to set up that link, etc., etc. So transferring via networks is not necessarily the best way. So AWS built a super cool project called Snowball, and the only way I can describe it is 50 terabytes in a suitcase. And it's literally a suitcase about, this big. And we ship it to you. You plug it into your storage system, copy the data, and send it back to us, and we upload that data in the cloud. And the little white label you see on the front, it's a Kindle device. The Kindle, the e-reader device. So it's a Kindle set up with your address and then our address. So you have nothing to worry about. And as you can see, it's very sturdy, it's very safe. And you can ship 50 terabytes like that. So the 100 terabytes that we were talking about a minute ago, you can get them uploaded in a week. And actually, we have customers who are uploading petabytes like this. We have a gaming customer working on, sorry, I forgot the name. Working on League of Legends. Sure, some of you are playing that as well. They're transferring 26 petabytes of data into AWS. The whole historical data of the game, 26 petabytes. Right, so that's a whole lot of suitcases, but it's the best way, right? Freedom number 4, bad relationships. I'm not talking about human relationships. I'm talking about database relationships. And sometimes they're even worse. Sometimes they're even worse. You have all that data in the cloud, and you need to crunch it. And if you're using legacy systems, you know they're expensive. You have vendor lock-in. You have a 3-year, 5-year agreement. You have to pay for licenses up front. It's not what people want anymore. And so over the years, everyone have been looking for alternatives. And one of them was, using MySQL or Postgres, which we love dearly, but it's hard to get the right level of performance. And so, listening to our customers, we built Amazon Aurora, which was announced some time ago. And it's really MySQL on steroids. It's got 5x performance, a 5x performance increase compared to MySQL. It's 10 times less expensive than legacy enterprise databases. It is fully compatible with MySQL. You can scale automatically from your storage from 10 gigabytes to 64 terabytes. Right? If you've tried this before, scaling storage for a database, it's a tricky subject. Here, Aurora will take care of you for a while. And it's the fastest growing product in the history of AWS. The adoption is really fantastic. Expedia is using it to manage travel data. They have over 20,000 writes per second. Not a problem. United Nations have migrated their websites to Aurora, and they're super happy with the performance. Alfresco, the content management company, manage over 1 billion documents with Aurora. And again, excellent performance, 10 times faster than MySQL. And that's just a few examples. So if you need high performance, SQL-based processing, and you're already using MySQL, I strongly encourage you to look at Aurora. But that's not all when it comes to data. Our customers came to us and say, please help us move our data to the cloud, our databases to the cloud. And please help us get out of those bad relationships. We've been using X or Y for years. We want to get out, but we need some help. And so AWS built the database migration service, which is exactly what it means. It's a simple service that will start in just a few clicks. Will start to migrate your databases, your tables, etc., from a legacy vendor into one of our database services. And actually, some people use it just for replication. But for migration, it's a great tool. Just continuous replication, continuous migration of your data. Very little risk, very little potential for downtime. Once all the data has been migrated, you can switch your system to the cloud-based databases, and you should be fine. Another tool we built is the Schema conversion tool. I think it's super cool. Actually, it's a tool that you download on your Mac or your PC. It will connect to your database, analyze the schema, the stored procedures, the views, etc. And it will show you automatically how to migrate it to one of our cloud-based services. It will rewrite some of the code if needed automatically, to minimize your pain. And when some database objects cannot be translated from, let's say, Oracle to RDS, they will highlight it. The tool will highlight it and say, there's a slight problem there, and the tool will give you some advice. So it's a simple way to assess how easy it is to migrate your schema into RDS or Aurora, and doing a lot of the heavy lifting for you. Freedom to migrate. We see a common pattern in enterprises moving to the cloud. You will start with a few projects on the side, and then with this early success, you will start to do more. Start to connect your data center to the AWS cloud. And then you will scale up and build even more application in the cloud. And at some point, it's likely that you will decide to shut down your data center and go all into the AWS cloud. But we understand that there's a transition phase where you need to have on-premises infrastructure and cloud-based infrastructure. And we have actually a lot of customers who are transitioning, gradually, connecting, integrating their on-premise environment and their cloud environment. For example, Johnson & Johnson has already migrated 120 applications. And they call it the borderless data center. They're not thinking on-premises versus cloud. They're thinking, we have a data center. Some of it is cloud-based. Some of it is still physical infrastructure. And we have integrated the workloads on both. And many, many more large companies are doing that because it might take them a little while to fully migrate. But the ultimate destination for them is to be all in, completely cloud-based. I could talk about Netflix, that I'm sure everyone knows, huge company, completely AWS-based. I could talk about FINRA. FINRA is a huge private finance regulator in the US. They manage 70, so they look at transactions on public markets, and they try to find the problems there that may happen. And they have to manage 75 billion events per day. Crazy number. And regulated company, you can imagine, they have a few rules to follow. After consideration, they decided to go completely into AWS. And, I love this quote. Actually, we printed this on some of our AWS T-shirts a while ago. At the end of the day, friends shouldn't let friends build data centers. Not anymore. It's just a bad thing to do today. That person who definitely looks like Barack Obama. Well, it's not Barack Obama. It's Charles Phillips. It's the CEO from Infor, one of the largest ERP vendors. And they're all in. Their CRM the ERP solution that they sell is 100% AWS based. And they get the agility for them and for their own customers. Freedom number 6 is security. What about security? It's been discussed to death. For a long time, it was the point that people would make to say, we're not moving to the cloud because it's not secure. I'm sure you've heard that. Today, AWS holds many security certifications from multiple industries. SOC, SOC 1, 2, 3. PCI DSS, which is so important for everybody processing payments. We hold a lot of US federal certifications. As I've said, we work with a lot of government entities. So, FIPS and FISMA, etc. Not to forget all the ISO certification, notably ISO 27001, which drives information security management. So, all this is public information. You can go to our website and you can read all about it, and you can request the reports if you want to feel. What's your question exactly? Well, so I could thank you for your question. The two things I can say is AWS was never involved in Prism, right? A lot of different companies have been named, unfortunately. Amazon and AWS have never been named, never been part of it. I can tell you that Amazon, AWS actually have been fighting in court, a lot of orders to disclose data, fighting as much as we can, because we stand on behalf of on our customer side. When it comes to data privacy, our Data Protection Act, DPA, And that's public information, has been approved by the European community. There's a body within the European community called the Article 29 Working Party. I'm sorry, it's a bit technical. And you can look it up. And this group approved the Amazon Data Protection Act. What that means is you can host, if you're in Europe, within the European Union, you can host your data in any European location for AWS. And the European Union, European community, confirms that your data will be safe there. So if you have this kind of requirement, it doesn't matter if you host it in Dublin, which is one of our, in Ireland, which is one of our European regions. Doesn't matter if you host it in Germany, in Frankfurt, which is another region. Your data will be safe in Europe, and it will never move beyond the European borders. AWS never moves the data of their customers. You decide if you want to put it in the US, if you want to put it in Japan, if you want to put it in Brazil. Great, we support that. But we will never move the data outside of a region. Okay? I could talk about security features for a long time. And unfortunately, I'm a little short, and I hope that answers your question, sir. Well, thank you too. And that's a good transition to security services. We have many different services to secure your applications. On the network side, on encryption, we have security features that give you the ability to have your own security keys, cryptographic keys, that we don't have, that AWS will never have. Okay, so it's the ultimate security as far as we're concerned. You can encrypt your data with your own keys, and we never get them. Identity management, that's super important for enterprises application. And compliance, which is very important if you're in a regulated industry. Specifically, you could use CloudTrail. CloudTrail will log every single call, every single action on an AWS API. So you can know exactly who did what, when. So for auditing, it's great. So when it comes to using AWS, it's really not about moving fast or staying secure. It's both. You can move fast and stay secure. And you're never going to be slowed down by security procedures. You put the right automated controls in place using our platform, and they will do the job for you. They will AWS config, for example, another service, will automatically check that your resources follow your policy. If a virtual machine or if a storage bucket does not follow those rules, it will be flagged. It could be shut down immediately, automatically. So you don't have to worry so much about doing this manually. And actually, we have a lot of customers in the finance industry. And this gentleman, Mr. Alexander, is the CIO from Capital One. Capital One is one of the top 10 banks in the US. And as he puts it, the finance industry is constantly under attack by the worst cyber criminals. So security is their #1 concern. And what he says is, working with us enabled Capital One to build a model, security model, that is better than what they could do in their data centers. And actually, we have other customers reporting that they reach a higher security level working with us than working on their own. So coming from those guys, I think that's a strong statement. The last freedom is my favorite. It's the freedom to say yes. How many times a day, how many times a week does somebody come to you as an IT manager or as an ops manager asking for something that you cannot deliver? You would love to do it, but you can't, because you don't have time, you don't have resources, you don't have the budget, you don't have the servers, and you have to say no, and you feel depressed about it. God knows I felt depressed about it. And that could mean, if you're working in a startup, means growing like crazy from day one, never having to worry about capacity, never having to worry about, oh my God, we need 20 more servers for tomorrow, how do we do it? And who's using at least one of those services weekly. Yeah, Slack. Okay, no one is using Tinder, I'm sure, right? Okay. Okay, so excluding Tinder, Airbnb, Pinterest, Zynga, Stripe, I could list a few more, right? Spotify, etc. So those guys from day one, they've been growing and they never had to say no to anyone. And the same goes for large companies, which have lots of processes, lots of history, and that's fine. We respect that. They can't necessarily move as fast as the startups, but they still want to say yes. They want to say yes to their new businesses. They want to say yes to their customers. For example, Unilever, large, huge consumer company, they migrated 1,700 websites to AWS, right? And they keep adding more. And building a website for them, it's an easy thing to do. Probably was more complex in the past. Philips Healthcare, they're managing 15 petabytes of medical data in the cloud, helping their customers work and crunch that data to improve healthcare. Again, I could go on forever. Just to show you that large companies too, can reinvent themselves and become agile and nimble again, thanks to AWS services. And you've been listening to me for patiently, and I thank you for that. But I could have just flown there and showed you a couple of slides, and these are the ones I want to show you. What is really the essence of this freedom story? Well, I think the best way to sum it up is, look at what the CTO from Ticketmaster, large, huge company selling, concert tickets, etc., event tickets. And what he says is really, using AWS brings back ownership into the company, into the teams. The builders, the thinkers, the people who want to build the best service, they can make the business and the service their own again. They are not stuck in procedures. They are not stuck in waiting for the network guy to open the firewall, the storage guy to add 10 gigabytes, the server guy to rack 10 more servers. They can just go and do it themselves. So it's better for the business, it's better for time to market, it's better for them, they feel better about it, and at the end of the day, it's their website again, it's their application. They can build it from A to Z, see the results, measure, improve, and more important, have fun. Nothing's worse than being stuck and having to wait on somebody else. So it's really about freedom to control your own destiny. And it's not only about the business, it's about you. It's about what you want to do as an individual, right? What do you want to do when you wake up in the morning and go to the office? Are you just going through the motions? Is it just one day after the next, after the next, after the next? Being stuck in the same rigidity, in the same, the same role playing sometimes? Or do you want, is there a higher purpose? Do you want to be proud again? Do you want to be happy again at what you do and see the results of your ideas, brought in production, being successful, creating value for your company, of course, but just creating value and happiness for yourself. And again, from my personal collection, there was a time when that's what my life looked like. That's not me. That's one of my system administrators working on an infrastructure migration at night. You can see some servers in the back. And, at some point you have to sleep, But is that the way, Is that the way? Sleeping like a homeless guy in the office and going home totally, destroyed and unhappy because you had to roll back that database migration at 3 in the morning or something went wrong on the routers. Is that the way? What's the happiness there? So at some point, you see the light, right? You see the light, like the Blues Brothers, and you realize, come on, there's a better way. We've been doing it like this for 10 years, 15 years, 20 years. there's a better way. We should go faster. We should be more efficient. And again, we should be happier with our job and what we deliver for the company. And this is where you want to get, right? You want to get on top of the mountain. You have great mountains in Norway, right? Too bad I can't even visit them this afternoon or tomorrow. I hate it, but that's it. I'll be back. So that's where you want to be, looking at the horizon, thinking about, okay, what am I going to build tomorrow? Where am I taking my project? Where am I taking my company? Where am I taking myself? You want to see the sun rise, and you want to be successful. And I think, and I hope that during this presentation, I showed you that getting on top of the mountain is possible, and looking at the sunrise is possible. And all you have to do is take a simple step into the cloud, and we're here to help, and we're here to listen. Okay? I want to thank you very much, and I'm going to try that. So, tack så mye. All right? Hope that was good. Thank you very, very much. I'm on time, which is fantastic. I want to thank the organizers once again for having me. It's been a huge pleasure. I wish I could stay longer, but I've got to run and catch my flight. I want to thank all of you for attending. I wish you a great, great conference. And please keep in touch on Twitter or by any other means. If you have any questions, if you want to, if you're looking for additional information, if you want to get more about the references I mentioned, feel free to ping me on Twitter. I'll be happy to answer. Thanks again. Have a great day, and I hope to see you soon. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much.